Hello and good evening. My name is Jacob Mercier, and tonight I will be talking to you about bullying in America's schools and the current legislative landscape. Bullying in America's schools is an issue that is impossible to ignore. Too often we hear about school shootings and adolescent suicides that are directly related to bullying in schools. Studies have shown and continue to show that bullying can be detrimental to a student's health, academics, and future in society. During this presentation, we will explore several studies that demonstrate a need for comprehensive legislation that empowers schools and protects students. Research shows that anti-bullying laws are necessary to give educators the tools to increase academic performance, identify student misconduct, and address bullying effectively to prevent tragedies from occurring. Together we will focus on two primary elements of anti-bullying: identifying and understanding where bullying occurs, and proactive and reactive enforcement. Research shows that teachers and students are not on the same page when it comes to bullying. One study done by Dr. Bradshaw shows that students feel that over 30% of the student population is bullied. Teachers estimated that number at under 10%. Another study by Long and Alexander measures the perceptions of students about teachers' involvement and awareness of bullying. The results show that students believe their teachers intervened in 35% of bullying incidents. Teachers believe they were directly involved 85% of the time in bullying incidents. Now, we must take into account that not all bullying takes place in the classroom. So where does bullying happen? Studies have shown that as many as 83% of bullying incidents happen during lunchtime, while other studies have shown that 62% of incidents happen on the school bus. So, I want to direct your attention to the following graph. This graph represents the responses of 3.2 million teachers and education support professionals on three important questions from the National Education's 2011 survey on bullying. Education support professionals represent the people that work as school bus drivers, cafeteria members, and administrative staff. You can see here, the first question asks teachers and ESPs if their district has a formal policy on bullying. The results are reassuring. You can see that most teachers and ESPs would agree that their district has a formal policy. What gets a little concerning is on the second question, on whether teachers and ESPs have actually received formal training on those policies. 55% of teachers and 46% of ESPs actually had training on their district's policy. And lastly, the third question asks if teachers and ESPs are involved in prevention efforts. Once again, you can see that the responses are very low, 42% for teachers and 27% for ESPs. This data clearly demonstrates that most districts have a formal policy to address bullying, but few provide the education necessary to educate their staff properly to identify and address incidents. The truth is that most state laws do not fund or require their schools to perform such activities. Without enhanced legislation to provide additional school funding, most schools will continue to allocate funds based on necessity. However, most parents will agree that their children's safety is the most important facet of the educational atmosphere. The second topic that I would like to discuss uncovers the severity of the health concerns that bullying causes in the current legal landscape. According to a survey of approximately 2,000 youths, kids that were involved in bullying incidents were twice as likely to have suicidal thoughts or an attempt on their lives. This has caused the medical community to do extensive research on state laws that link bullying to serious injury, including death. In one of these studies, Dr. Srabstein, a child psychologist at the Children's National Medical Center, concluded that only 32% of students are covered by anti-bullying legislation that defines bullying as a public health concern and funds a prevention program. Furthermore, bullying victims have little to no recourse against verbal and non-physical attacks. Currently, the provisions of Title IX do not protect students from verbal abuse, which is concerning given the prevalence of cyberbullying and anti-gay bullying. For parents and teachers, the answer may be as simple as breaking the cycle early in a child's development. Dr. Hirstein, a research scientist at the Committee for Children, set out to provide teachers at the elementary level with the tools to get involved when bullying happens and build positive behaviors in youths. The results show a reduction in bullying incidents and an increase in self-reported student behaviors. Bullying creates a hostile learning environment for children and has been linked to serious health problems. Many will argue that children should not have to suffer social abuse at such a formative time in their lives. The thought of an adolescent committing suicide or homicide makes bullying an issue that's impossible to ignore. When these events occur, the public investigates what happened and what could have been done differently. This reactive style of thinking has evoked outcry from parents to ask their state officials for change. Building anti-bullying legislation and education programs can positively affect educational performance and the well-being and safety of America's youths. Thank you for your time. At this time, does anybody have any questions?
You briefly mentioned that improving legislation can have a positive effect on a child's educational performance. How can you prove that bullying lowers test scores?
That's a really good question. So when a child is bullied, they are being exposed to stress that they're not necessarily well equipped to handle. Such stress can lead to disruption during test time, or it could also cause a student to miss school in fear of being bullied. Any other questions? Yes.
If I don't have children, why should my taxpayer dollars fund bullying prevention programs?
Another good question. So for those of you that don't have children, funding bullying prevention programs goes a long way to helping society. For instance, studies have shown that children that engage in bullying, or children who are the bullies, go on to criminal activity or drug abuse later on in life. So one could say that prevention programs have a downstream effect or a positive outcome on society. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you for your time.